97 or plus?
Yeah, since meet 2, yeah,
So turning in the right direction, obviously best score of the season. Had a good road score last time. Still trying to get a road win. Is that how important is it or not? Are you just focused on the scores? You trying not to?
Under the circumstances, I can't make it about that. I have to stay on message with these guys, and it's just about taking the next step and being improving, because we lost KJ after this meet in the celebration. Broke her foot, jumping around, getting ready to do the alma mater with students, and then Alona's groin has gotten super inflamed, so we don't know if she's doing anything this weekend. So we're going to see more new faces, and now we're really at a point where we're out of bodies. So I've got to make sure that it's just about how they compete. Can they improve? Can we compete with the right mindset? Can we stay aggressive, not be timid? All the things that we've been saying all year long. We'd love to win every single meet, but right now we're trying to position ourselves the best we can for the postseason, and that requires that we stay on message and really not change the focus in any way.
Didn't know about KJ.
Yeah.
She lost for the season?
I hope not. I mean, we're talking. It could. Well, this one. Doc said maybe 6 weeks, so we'd be looking at regionals. And that's if she could come back, and she's enough of an athlete that I think she can get ready quick. So it's next person up. We just keep moving. That's what we're going to do. I mean, that's the only choice we have.
Who do you need to see more? Who we're going to see more of?
Probably Lexi Jeffrey does a little more this weekend. Bryce probably vaults. Chase may be back in on floor. Because we pulled her after warm-ups and Elena went in. Elena probably stays in the all-around. I don't know. I don't have it all dialed up yet. We'll see if Alona's able to do bars, then bars would remain relatively unaffected unless we felt the need to get Olivia in there. So we'll know more after today for sure. But kind of got to let the last 24 to 36 hours pre-meet play out, because every time I tell you guys something premature, it ends up being different. So kind of got to let the chips fall where they may.
Is that something this year? Have you had more injuries than usual?
Oh gosh, yeah.
And is it hard to compartmentalize, like, hey, we've done really well with those that have come in next man up, but also what could we have done if we'd been full strength?
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag. On the one hand, I'm extremely proud of the way this team has competed all year. They've gotten better and improved, regardless of what scores ended up being. Every week we've made marked improvement in the areas that we wanted to see come about. But yeah, we've had this rash of injuries that we gone some years around here where we didn't have a single thing go wrong that way, and then other years, this is one of those where a lot of things happen that are out of your control, and if you could find a reason for them, but you're just stepping off a mat to do the alma mater with your students. Those aren't things that we can control, or those kinds of things aren't things that we could do anything differently. So you just roll with it, and on the one hand, we come off that high Friday night and everybody's happy, and I get a text as I'm changing clothes in the locker room about KJ. So I come running over here to find out, where she's at. And for a moment, we thought maybe it's just a sprain. We'll be okay. We'll give her a week. That's not great news, and then once we get it scanned and get the MRI, we see that it's worse. And so, you can't cry over spilt milk. There's not anybody that feels sorry for LSU. And so there's not a person on this team that's on this team because we didn't think they could come here and perform. So the next person goes in, and we just keep swinging, and let's see where we wind up.
What was different about Friday? Why did it click then versus all these times that you've been right there?
I think sometimes if you look around the country, it's pretty. I've mentioned this before. I think when in this conference, when teams are at home, it raises their performance level. You get in front of your fans and that kind of energy, and you get in on your equipment, and certainly the our kids seem to relish the idea a little bit of kind of being the underdog and having to chase somebody down, and they've kind of raised their level every time we've been in that situation this year, and they did it against Oklahoma and compete. They've, to this point, they're the closest team to Oklahoma in terms of a dual meet. And we've competed the toughest schedule in the country, so we've been in that mindset quite a bit, and it's a good mindset for us to be in because it puts you in kind of an aggressive situation, and it is the time of year where naturally things begin to come together a little bit. Usually, you're not having to make so many lineup changes this time of year, but it is the time of year where you sort of start getting into that championship form a little bit.
How would you assess the beam over the last 2 weeks since you've made the changes?
Oh, yeah. That's the beam we've seen in the gym all year. I think the thing is that for the first few meets of the year, we just seemed timid when we would get on balance beam. We weren't aggressive, like afraid to fall kind of mindset instead of going after it. And I've the last few weeks I've given the team a challenge. Like, you have a choice, whether it's life or anything. You have a choice to hope for something that you want, or actionably take action and take it. And there's a difference in that mindset, and so I think they've done a better job of getting in that sort of take it mindset, and that's what we've been talking about.
How would you assess the heater that Aaliyah's been on with these
Ah.
fans? I mean,
Well, I'm just impressed with her overall maturation process. It's actually accelerated beyond where I thought she would be, probably in part due to the circumstances we're in. But Aaliyah would tell you she's not where she's at without Haley Bryant, and it's setting the tone and creating that example of how to be week in and week out. So, I think it's part Aaliyah's maturation, but I think it's also part that she has people around her, Haley being the one that's the most prominent right now that sort of set that tone. Kaya Johnson's another one that does that, but she's not out there, and Haley has just been that steadying, calm force that allows for Aaliyah to grow in that way. So I think probably a lot of credit goes to her too.
I noticed, excuse me, with Elena's bars, instead of doing the pack directly out of the Tkachev, it was instead delayed a little bit. Was there any reason for that?
Yeah, that's the routine she did last year. And we made the change this year to connect them. And then after the Georgia meet, she started to kind of question herself a little bit on it. And so it was just easy to go back. The Tkachev looked great, so it was just easy to go back to what she had done previous years. And actually, because we had connected it for this period of time in the year, the pack had gotten much better out of that connection. She's able to keep her legs a little better together on it this way. And so I think it's just I was just trying to get her back into a place of comfort. I think it was getting in her head a little bit after the Georgia meet where she messed up. So it was just kind of to try to take a step back and let her get comfortable and confident again. And so for now, we'll stay with that combination. It doesn't change anything in terms of the start value. It just makes the routine a little bit longer. And that's it. I think originally we kind of took it out because the toe hand, the pike position can bother her back a little bit. And that was to kind of eliminate that extra kip-cast handstand, and it just shortened it, but it really doesn't. Compositionally, this routine's actually a little better, if you ask me.
You mentioned Olivia earlier. I have to ask the required Olivia Dunn question. Is there a chance she will perform?
There's a chance, but she's got to earn it. I don't know, who would you have me pull out after last week on bars? Like that's the
Well,
right.
You said you have a couple openings.
Yeah, well, that's the $1 million question. If Alona's ready to go and can do the job, it's just gonna. I'm really not gonna make changes that aren't necessary. I got kids that have been doing it all year, and if they're able to keep doing it this time of year, you don't really want to upset the apple cart if you don't have to. I know what Olivia is capable of. Olivia just needs to. She's got to be consistent with it, and she's just now gotten to where she's kind of rounded into form and can do it. Last week's inner squat, she was fantastic. 3 days prior to that, she couldn't finish her routine. So I just need to see it more and more and be able to get her in there. We're better with Olivia Dunn than we are without her, but we got to do it the right way.
What about a groin injury would allow Alona
Well,
to still perform on bars?
the way that hers is hurting. It's in the belly of the muscle, and so what hurts her most is their leaps on floor and beam and her series on beam. So it's those splits, those side splits, not a middle split. So like when she casts handstand and straddles, that doesn't bother it, but when she goes long ways in front and back, that's what pulls on it. So potentially bars and vault would be still a possibility if it's calmed down enough. It was swelling after the meet Friday night. So
With Olivia's consistency, is that injury related?
it's just numbers related. I mean, yeah, she was behind when we get here in the fall, and then gets caught up, and then we have the injury setbacks and the things that prevent her from doing the numbers. So it's not about anything other than she doesn't have the battery of numbers in the tank, so to speak, that a lot of the other kids have had, who have been able to, from the jump, be able to get into the progression and get where they are from a consistency standpoint. She's I'd be fully confident putting her in. I'd be fully confident because I know she's a competitor. But at the same time, I've got to be judicious. I don't want to upset what's been a lineup that's been getting better and better week over week, and every one of them has been doing the job. So it's, there's got to be an opportunity. I'm not just going to fabricate one. Dave, you don't have anything you want to?
Also, the required NQS question.
Yeah.
You're at that point in the season, and
Yeah.
did it help? Did it hurt? It seemed like it helped. It helps everybody a little bit.
What, last week?
No,
Or-
the NQS overall.
Oh, yeah.
Getting to NQS.
Yeah, I mean, it changes numbers. It really does. If you look at it, it doesn't really change much in terms of rankings, which is why I've argued for years we should go straight average, and you can drop your low if you want. So that it's easier for fans to understand. One of the most tedious parts of talking to fans when they go, what is this NQS thing? Like, wait, you were going by average, and now you're only going to count less than 50%. By the time we get to the end, we count less than 50% of what we did. And so therefore you see why a team can start really slow and then pour it on at the end and be competitive for a championship at the end. And I don't think it rewards the teams that are prepared to begin the season. It allows them to, allows teams to lay an egg and then get rid of it. We got to get rid of one still. It wasn't an egg, but we're going to get rid of that. Hopefully this weekend we get rid of our Utah score. But it's just, I don't know. I just don't, when you look at it historically in the data, it really doesn't change a lot of how teams will be ranked. Because by this time of year, most teams have kind of settled into a groove and they're pretty consistent with what they're doing. There's outliers that can always happen, but I just think it'd be easier for fans, and everything I do, or not everything I do, but a lot of from what I think philosophically, I think about two things: recruiting and the marketing piece of our sport. And I think it's easier for fans to understand if you just go straight average. They know what that is, but they got to work to figure out what the formula is. Even if it's a simple formula, it's just like, why do you do that? So it improved us. I think from an NQS standpoint, what we'd like to be able to do is to improve where we are and push as hard as we can to get a little further up, at least to be a high 2 going into the postseason. But SEC's counts as a road score for us too. So we still got some opportunities, because we're going to get this weekend on the road. Next weekend is on the road, even though it's down the road at the River Center. And then we'll have senior night here, and then we'll get a road score at SEC. So regardless of this week, we've got some opportunities to really improve what our score looks like. But I don't know how that plays into what other teams are doing. I'd like to see us climb a little bit and get out of that 8-9 kind of spot if we can.
But you hope if you have a good score, Alabama will knock out the Utah.
It would knock it out. Anything above a 196.775 knocks that score out. But then how much it affects us depends on how high it goes. The higher the better. So, mid to high 197 is where you'd like to be this time of year, if at all possible.